We have a total of 16 presentations tonight, and I want to give a shout out to Faith Farone because when you see the slideshow, the borders were designed by Faith. So thank you, Faith. They look phenomenal. Gail Corbett.
Okay, my piece, the motivation for my piece is earlier this year, I moved. And um, in addition to huge amounts of yarn, I have tons of books, and therefore I had tons of cartons, very sturdy cartons. And I was pretty exhausted. It's hard to move in a pandemic, but anyway, um, as I was tearing the cartons down, well, unpacking them and tearing them down for recycling, I kept falling in love with the cardboard. It has all these layers, and you kind of rip off the top layer, and there's a different color paper, and then you rip off some more, and it's corrugated. And I was just thinking, wow, I'm in love with this cardboard. And and then I was messing around looking at old stuff, and I found this bag of purple stuff that I had, including these little paper triangles. And I thought they're Japanese paper, and I thought they would look really amazing against the cardboard. And I just kind of laid them down, and then with three friends, all of whom are here tonight, I went to the resource center in Philadelphia, which is a wonderful place. And on the lower left of my piece is a little scrap of fabric from the local um, Devoret or burnout velvet, whatever you want to call it, the Philadelphia designer and maker of it, Kevin O'Brien. And there's a bin of scraps of Kevin O'Brien's, you know, leftovers. Well, I mean, put me in front of that bin, and oh, I was in heaven. And I happened to find a purple piece with some triangles, and I mean, you can't tell from the picture, but the contrast between the kind of rough, rugged cardboard and the exquisite silk velvet. And I especially liked down in the lower left corner of Kevin's velvet, it's all white, which is what he started with, you know, and then he beautifully dyed. Oh, thank you for that close up, Kate. Quite nice. Um, so that was really nice. And then one further thing, while I was tacking the things down, and I did kind of glue the paper triangles down, uh, a little a little piece of yarn, I don't even know where it came from. I It fell on the piece in a curved form, and it looked so good, and it picked up and it was oh it was I got the yarn. It's a 22 silk I got from Claudia at Mafa in Millersville the last time it was in person. And I thought, oh, it picks up Kevin's color at the bottom. So I just punched some holes and then did backstitch with the 22 silk. I think I got carried away. There are a few too many lines, but anyway. So that's my piece. Oh, could I just say about the lower left corner, or maybe I already said that, that Kevin obviously starts with white, pure white velvet, and then all that beautiful color and segueing from purple down to that sort of rusty pink color is he dyes it and eats away the sections that make it Deborah. Okay, I'm done.
And I just want to mention the Resource Exchange. Kevin donates all of his scraps. When you buy things, the money goes into needy artists in the city. A big scrap of Kevin O'Brien's Deborah sells for about $7. So it's
Oh, no,
really
not
a
that much.
deal.
I think it was about $2.
Next is, and we have the borders, Faith Barone.
Okay, so the inspiration was tea bags, and some of them I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to work with tea bags. I thought, okay, I'll lay them on a piece of it was a piece of brown paper bag that I had cut just a big square of, and then laid out the bags on it. And first I laid them together, and then I spread them apart, and that's the kind of the way you see them. So this built piece by piece. So I started with the tea bags, and then added the buttons. No. Then I added these are thrums along the on the those diagonal lines are thrums, and then I added the buttons, and then I added the little squares of painted paper. Again, more paper bag, and it really did come up from a paper bag, not a a roll of brown paper or anything. And then I needed to mount it onto something, so I mounted it onto an old cardboard, a piece of cardboard from a box. And that's pretty much it. Kate, if you want to go to the detail.
Faith, you're breaking up a little.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't know why. But there's that's just a detail of the piece. The buttons are really old buttons. The border and the painted paper, the little squares and the and around the border is done with watercolor and Neocolor 2 wax pastels. And that's pretty much it. Words are just done with ink.
Now, the inspiration for the recycle, reuse takes us into our next person who teaches us and shows us that everything around you can be used for a purpose. And here we go to Margie Gale. Margie, you ready?
Yes. My inspiration is right here, Bumblebee. And he felt that he was being gypped and not being able to present at any of the portable fibers or anything. So he said, "How about my bags? Can you do anything with them?" And I said, "Well, look, Bumblebee. So these bags have to have their dog food bags, and they have to have a white interior." So I looked up how to do it on YouTube. And I made a little bag because the big thing now is having reusable bags. So this is the bag I made, a dog chow. I also made a smaller bag out of a Alpo little bag. And the other side is not detailed. The other slide is the back of the bag. And the thing is, it is a conversational starter because you know how people like dogs. So when somebody sees you with a dog or a dog bag, if you can't bring your dog, then they might talk to you and start a conversation. And that's it. They're very usable, very nice.
Yes, and I want to add that in Philadelphia, as of about 2 months ago, you are not allowed to have plastic bags in any stores. So bringing your own bag has become more and more important when you're shopping. So I have dog bags. Thank you, Margie. Anything else you want to add?
No, it's very simple, not artistic, but it let this guy have a chance to show off his stuff. That's from him. He made the donation.
Go Bumblebee. All right, now we have almost a first. Charlotte Switzer and her family, that's left to right, Crosby Joe and Erin Mayer, and then Charlotte. And the family that mends together has fun together because Joe, Erin, and Charlotte are all presenting their work and it's all mending. Charlotte, you're on. Charlotte?
I had to unmute. I said, Erin is very sick today, so I'm presenting.
Okay.
All right, so this first thing is I thought I would use this because it was already a piece of recycling. It's a Afghan Erin gave me one year, made of sweaters that had been cut up and put back together. And sometime last year, a moth got a hold of it. Well, actually, it was before last year. And I had 5 holes in it. And I decided I would mend them as my sustainability project. And so on the left is a hole, typical of what was on there. And on the right is a mended hole. And I put a safety pin by it because it's kind of hard to see. So I guess I did okay. They kept getting better as each hole went along. Each hole looked better. And that's all. Erin has a cashmere wrap that she loved, and the moths really went to town on it. And she decided that she would do some felting. She'd never done felting before, and she thought, well, let me see if I can't fix those holes with felting. And that's what she did. And that's like half the scarf. There were quite a few holes, but she really liked the wrap. And so she fixed them all with different colored pieces of roving. Joe is our Boro guy. He mends all of Crosby's knees and his pockets and everything, and uses a Boro technique. And he uses different kinds of fabric, different kinds of thread. And last year for Christmas, one of his Christmas gifts was a sewing kit, but it was in a mail toolbox. And Erin put all kinds of accessories that you would need for mending and sewing. He already had quite a stash of fabrics and stuff, but she just added things that he didn't have, and he was thrilled. So that was one of his knees.
And I would like to frame that. I think that is the best design. Thank you, Charlotte, Joe, Erin. And next up is Myra.
Okay, so the thing that bugs me most about weaving, because I love everything about weaving, but the thing that bugs me the most is loom waste. And I decided that I was going to make a basket out of all my loom waste. And what I did was I've been collecting my loom waste forever. And I took bags of loom waste and just made what I think Margie said she did with the magic balls, of just doing, tying ends together. And then I made rope with a fringe twister. I made some big rope with a fringe twister. And then I used a basket weave technique to sew the entire thing together. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, and so this is the finished piece. And what I did was I didn't like just the white string showing. So I decided to colorize the white string, and I dyed it with Sharpies. And I used Sharpies to do the yellows to the magenta fade. And so I call this my loom waste basket, or my loom waste basket.
That is quite incredible. Thank you, Myra.
Oh, I'll show you how big it is. It's this big.
Oh, I can't see you. You'll have to tell us. Well, you can show us at the end after the presentation. We'll get a look at it.
All right.
Let me make a note of that. Okay. And next up is Valerie Clark.
Good evening, everyone. These are recycled used tote bags. And I got the idea from Linda, who is, she's part of the hand stitching SIG. And she shared with us a pattern or instructions to make a tote bag out of scrap fabrics using hand stitch boro, right? And so she said to me, she said, you know, I can just see taking a old tote bag and then adding the fabric to it. Opening the tote bag up, add the fabric to it. The handles are already there, and sew it back together. And I said, "Whoa, Linda, you've given me an idea." So I knew I'm a sewer, and I knew that I was not going to hand stitch the fabric to the tote bag because it would probably never get done. In all honesty. And so I remembered, first of all, I have a slew of old tote bags. They get dingy. You try to wash them, they're stained, and so they're just in a corner somewhere. So, and then I also probably, yeah, it was pre-COVID, a interior decorator posted on Craigslist that they were throwing out their fabric sample books, and if anybody wanted their fabric sample. So I said me, and so I went to the shop and I said to them, "Oh, what can I have?" And the guy said, "Whatever is there on the table, and if you don't take it right after you leave, it's going in the trash because tomorrow is trash day." And I said, "No, no, please, I'll take it all." And so and he said, "Okay." And so he put boxes and boxes of fabric sample books in my car. And so what you see here is everything is so well coordinated because the fabric samples are coordinated in the book. So the only thing that I did was I said, "Oh, like the green one, it had a green handle." I said, "Oh, let me look and see what green fabric I have." And so I took it, and these bags here, they probably only take about maybe 8 pieces of the fabric samples. And I cut it in different sizes and sewed it together. This one here has a little bit more work to it. That was my first one. And you might see some lines. And what I did was I marked the lines and I stitched it down, but it didn't catch all of the edges. And I knew that since they were decorator fabrics, more than likely they would fray. So I took it apart. I took it apart again, and then I came back and I stitched around every square fabric. So this bag here is actually double stitched. The bag 2 and bag 3, the blue and the green one, those I just initially stitched all around the edge, and then once everything is stitched, I serged them up, and the handles are already in place, and they are now very, very, very nice, sturdy tote bags. Something that you wouldn't mind carrying, and you don't have to carry around the um Jim's feed and weed sack tote bag. So that's it. Oh, and if I can add one thing, uh, Margie's dog bag reminded me of can you see my cat? Can you see my cat apron?
Oh, Valerie, show it at the end. We can't
Oh,
see you
okay.
right now, so I'll make a note of that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Valerie. All right. And next we have Judy Donovan, who ran into a snag in traffic. So Sarah is going to present for her.
Okay, so pretend I'm Judy. I'm going to read what she sent me. This was made in 2020 from 2 discarded jean jackets, 2 pairs of my husband's cast-off jeans, and a couple of worn denim shirts. I tried to keep the parts of the upcycled garments intact. See the back details where you can see I saved the buttons from a pair of blue jeans, plus the actual pocket. So you can see that there. I was first thinking I had to overdye the various denim garments to make it work, but I think leaving them in their natural state worked just fine. The 2 photos were taken in different lighting, so the colors look different, but both the front and back are essentially the same shades of blue. The remnants of this project were given to one of my quilting students who makes quilts from discarded clothing. I learned recently that denim is compostable. You can shred your old jeans and put them in your garden. I did not know that. So that is Judy's creation, and it's from a Marcy Tilton Vogue pattern that is still in print.
Can you go back to the first slide, please?
Yes. Wait a minute.
Did you have a question about it, Nancy?
No, but when she talked about the colors, I wanted to see the first slide.
Okay. Yeah, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
All right. And next up is Pat Duran.
Okay, the inspiration for this was my daughter's cat died, her favorite cat. So I thought I would make her a quilt or a cat quilt to commemorate his life. And what I did was the orange part was originally slipcover for my couch, which I cut up and dyed it, and used old shirts for my husband and a baby dress from Emily, and made the patterns with that. It's hard to see in the picture, but those are different different shirt patterns there. And on the back, I had a length of fabric from Gaffney's that I bought, which I dyed blue, and I dyed it blue because the sewing was all in white thread, so you can see the patterns on the back. And the close-up shows the what I did was since it was for the cat, I made, I don't know, sewings of the cat, like pictures of the cat on the quilt. So there's 4 cat pictures on the quilt in outline, and that's all.
Thank you. And the cat lives on in the quilt.
Yes, absolutely.
Marliese Craft, here we are.
Yeah, so I had done some momigami, which origami is the folded paper, momigami is the crumpled paper. But I've only done it with kind of like thinner paper, and I decided I had, a big piece of, kind of butcher block paper, and no, not, I mean, paper bag. And I just started crumpling it. and when I unfolded it, I really loved what had happened, the creases, and so I decided I would try to make that my sustainability piece. So I cut out from mesh bags from fruit, these two different greens, and then just had a red thread go through. And I couldn't, I mean, for me, it just, like, as I was looking at it, I could only see one thing. When I am originally from Switzerland, and so when I'm flying home from Switzerland, I always sit on the window at the window because I love looking down at the world. And where you come over Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's just, for a long time, it's just barren land, and and then it starts to have forest, and then eventually there's a little road that comes through, and so this is just kind of like the world from high above for me, with a lot of ocean around it, I guess. And that's just, if you were more in the landscape. So I was just having fun experimenting and playing with that material. So that's it.
Thank you. And next we have Claire Vaughn. And Claire, I put the sheep in, and you'll tell the story of the sheep.
Okay, my husband is a photographer, and he went to Iceland in September for a photography workshop, and he took this picture of Icelandic sheep, and he brought me back as a gift from Iceland some Icelandic yarn, and so I made this scarf out of it. He brought me lots of beautiful colors.
Claire, there's a little bit of echo. We're having trouble understanding you.
Oh, it's probably the room I'm in. You hear me now?
A little better, yeah.
Okay. So Icelandic sheep, the Vikings settled Iceland, like 1,000 years ago or more, 1,100 years ago. And when they came, they brought sheep. And over the next 1,000 years, these sheep evolved to survive in this very harsh landscape. And they're in the summer, they're let to roam free. And in the winter, they feed them hay. So, and they also are very disease-free. They're very smart. There's no lice in Ireland, so they don't have to sheep dip them. So these are, very sustainable sheep. And they're raised mostly for meat, but the past 100 years or so, they've begun to develop a yarn industry. And the farmers own the yarn company, which is called Istex. And the yarn is, Icelandic sheep have a double coat. So they have a long outer hair, which is kind of water repellent, and then an inner coat, which is very soft, which, can you see this? It looks like this. See the little sheep? It's insulating. So the yarn that they sell is called lopi, and it's a combination of both of these fibers. It's very light. It's kind of scratchy, but once you wash it, it gets a little softer. So that's what I made out of my husband's gift from Iceland, and you can get this lopi yarn in the United States. It's actually sold by Walmart. Another interesting thing is they have in Iceland, when they make the Icelandic sweaters, some people, the traditional way to do it is they knit it right from unspun yarn. They pull it right out of these big wheels of yarn and knit it directly into a sweater. And they also, you can also buy that here. Well, it might be for somebody who's interested in spinning. You can get it from yarn.com in a lot of colors, and it comes in a big plate. And you just sort of, you can just draw it out and knit directly from it, apparently. I wouldn't try that, but so this is my scarf. Oh, my husband took all the pictures, by the way.
Can I just throw in there that one of our guild members, Carla Childs, came into Gaffney's today wearing a Lopi sweater with the traditional yoke of color work made out of Lopi.
That's fortuitous. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, anything else, Claire?
I don't think so.
All right.
My husband says that they also taste good, so for what that's worth. The sheep.
All right. All right, well, thank you very much. And next we have Charlotte Chatfield. And Gigi, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Gigi is going to present Charlotte's piece.
So Charlotte knit the socks from yarn that she got at the Guild's free table. And in this photo, you can see how the heels and the toes wore out of two of the socks. So she cut off the cuff of the socks of these two ones that have the worn parts, and she re-knit them with double pointed needles from the top down using the yarn left over from when she originally made the socks. And then she ran out of that yarn on the second heel, so she substituted brown yarn. So we'll see that in the second picture. And then she picked up the stitches of the cut socks and joined them together. And the second photo, so we can switch to the second photo now, shows the completed socks, approved by a very satisfied cat. And Charlotte learned how to knit from her mother when she was a girl, which is why she is such an expert knitter and was able to do such an impressive job on these socks, both in knitting them and then in repairing them. I just love these. They're beautiful.
Thank you, Gigi. And now, Gigi Matthews speaking for herself.
Oh, okay. So my sustainability challenge was that I was inspired by the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi, which is basically about recognizing beauty in the humble simplicity of things. So I made hand-spun yarns using sustainable ingredients. And when I make yarn for my own use, I like to make it look unmistakably hand-spun. And I also like to have the base materials visible so that you can see the woolliness of the fleece, or you can see the fibers of the plant and things so on like that. So the blue ball on top is in the center, is the only one that I didn't make myself. It came to me via the Tatter Textile Library, which is here in Brooklyn, and it's made from Kala cotton, Kala, which is indigenous to India. It's a long staple cotton, and it's one of the only non-genetically modified cottons remaining in the world. It requires no fertilizers, pesticides, or irrigation. And this yarn was grown and hand spun in the region of Kutch, Kutch, and dyed with indigo that is also indigenous to the area. Its purchase supports a community in India, allowing them to continue their land-based traditional lifestyle, which has one of the smallest carbon footprints in the world. And if you want some of this yarn, visit tatter.org. The white yarn is made from Florida cracker sheep fleece, and these sheep are the descendants of the sheep brought to North America by the Spanish in the 1500s. And this breed is on the Wildlife Conservancy's critically endangered list. And if you want to get some Florida cracker sheep fleece or yarn, just go to rarewool.org. That takes you to the Shave 'em and Save 'em part of the Livestock Conservancy's website. The recipe for the red yarn that you see is equal parts of bottom of the bag leftover scarlet merino fleece and hemp fiber, 50-50. Hemp is a plant that can grow pretty much anywhere other than the polar regions. And like cotton, it doesn't require fertilizer, pesticides, or irrigation. It grows at the speed of a plant, but with the strength of a tree. And some regions can reap up to 6 crops a year. And until the invention of synthetic fibers, hemp was the primary material for rope. So if you think of all the sailing ships that used to sail the seas for centuries, most of the ropes they needed were made out of hemp. The cream-colored yarn with multicolored stripes in it at the bottom there is made from leftover blue-faced Leicester fleece that I blended with yarn, thread, and fabric scraps. I keep a jar handy and I save all my snippets. And then when I get a whole bunch full, I blend them with a white yarn, usually white fleece, and I spin it up. The pale blue yarn, which is the largest ball there, is also made from Florida cracker fleece that I colored with natural fresh indigo dye. And the small blue ball that's at the top is spun out of Florida cracker sheep fleece, blended with shredded denim fabric reclaimed from blue jeans manufacturing, and also threads that I pulled out of a pair of my blue jeans that have totally worn out. So we can switch to photo 2 now. And I made mandalas and flowers by crocheting. And let me just say, I'm a crap crocheter. I had to keep undoing and counting the stitches. Mandalas are supposed to like be peaceful and calming, and I was not peaceful and calm, but I regained my crochet skills by doing it. And these flowers and mandalas have the wabi-sabi quality that I love. But I think that the indigo and denim, plus the faded red of the hemp yarn, and then the wildflowery look of the multicolored yarn, give them a kind of Western sort of look. So I've decided to call this my Cowboy Wabi Sabi collection. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Gigi. And then comes me, Kate O'Hara. So I made a small runner actually for the top of a dresser, but when it was completed, I realized it belonged on the top of my cedar chest. It is 20 inches by 13 inches, woven on a 16-inch Ashford rigid heddle. The EPI is 12.1, 12.5. I used a Japanese Sakiori technique of rag weaving. The inspiration was a silk dress I wore to my sister's engagement party 42 years ago. I knew it was special, so I kept it packed away. When the sustainability challenge came out came the dress. The warp is from the Resource Exchange, the same place Gail got her Devore, and it was a blue with 2-ply blue with fine black, and it was wrapped up with a rubber band, and I believe it was probably cotton. The weft is stripes of patterned silk chiffon cut with a rotary cutter. The strips range from 1 inch to 1 3/4 inches. There are 4 main techniques to joining strips of cloth. 3 require manual dexterity and or the use of scissors or sewing needles. With my tremors, I found a plain weave, a plain overhand knot, the easiest and safest. The silk was so sheer that the knot was not overwhelming to the pattern. I left a long tail on the end of each knot and wove them in to add interest. Due to the wide silk, the selvages are nubby, and this is a design element. The patterns of the weft silk are random. As I was weaving, it was fun to see the patterns unfold. And this is a close-up of the weaving. You can see the knots, and you can also see the thicker areas on the sides of the knots where I wove in the tails. And this is straight silk weft. There are no layers of yarn in between. And there's a lot of dress left, so this will not be my last project. So, for the finale, we have a special treat. Marley's Craft made a trash monster. We all know what the Cookie Monster was. Well, this is a trash monster. Once you see this, you will think long and hard when you put things in the trash, and maybe you can make your own trash monster. I happen to love this little fellow, and I'm going to start putting things together to make one. So thank you, Marlise, for this treat. And in conclusion, everybody unmute themselves and let's give a round of applause.
Yay.
So now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah. My voice is just about gone. And she will do the questions and answers. And I have a couple of things to backtrack on after you do the questions and answers.
So I'm just going to start with the chat, and then we can move on to anybody who has a question that didn't end up in the chat. Dottie said, Valerie, I take my linen and cotton free tote bags from organizations and tie-dye them to cover stains and logo advertisement.
Nice.
And Dottie also said, Marlise, how do you spell the Japanese technique you use?
Spell it. I will spell it in the chat. It's momigami, and the Japanese often use paper, like when you really crumple the paper and again, and with a little bit oil on your hands, it gets incredibly strong and flexible. So they made bags out of paper like that. A long tradition.
Thank you. And somebody has a bunch of background noise going on. It sounds like some crunching of something. If you could mute yourself, if you realize that's you. All right. Charlotte Switzer to everyone. Everyone's projects are so wonderful. And I still hear something. Nancy Nagel, so much beauty. And here's Marlise's answer. It's, momigami? Okay. Thank you all. Does anybody have any then questions? And then I know we want to circle back and take a look at Kate. It was at least 2 people.
Yeah, I have
had something to show up front.
Yeah.
Any Val, do you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Hetty how long it took her to do one of those Dorset buttons. They're beautiful.
I can't remember. I mean, probably an hour, I mean, not more than 2 hours.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to show
The dog. Sherry, okay.
Yes, Sherry, let me pin you.
And then we have
Mine is
Mawusi,
not
and
very
I saw
good.
somebody else too.
Anyway, this is some of Gigi's yarn
Oh, can you hold it back a little?
that I bought at the Fiber Palooza, and I knitted it into a cowl.
Oh,
There
it's
it is.
gorgeous.
Okay, it's lovely.
Great colors.
And it's red fleece with, all different color yarn snippets and and things.
That's beautiful.
Very nice.
Fun.
Mawusi, you had your hand up?
Yes, I wanted to ask Faith. She may have mentioned a little bit, but I must have missed it. Tell me a little bit more about your borders. What were they made out of, and how did you? What they were painted?
They were, yeah. It's just pieces of cardboard that I placed on top of the board because it needed a border. It's a quilt square. In case anybody didn't get that was the I don't think I said that, but that was the idea, that it was a kind of a quilt block.
So
but
the
it
borders
was,
are paper. They're
so
paper.
the border is painted cardboard.
Oh, okay.
And it's just
It looks like
yeah.
fabric. It looks like fabric. That's why.
Well, it was kind of based on a fabric textile design technique of just building up layers of color on paper. Print design technique is what I wanted to say. So that's really all it is, and then it's just painted, and until I get it the way I want it to look.
Looks great.
And Faith, I noticed that you had some words around each square. I couldn't read them. What does it say?
Recycle, reuse.
Very clever.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Margie, did I see that did you have a question, Margie?
Yes, I had a question. Somebody was going to show the apron made with the dog food bag.
Oh, that was.
That was me.
Valerie, let me spotlight you.
Well, I couldn't resist. I saw Margie's bag, and I have cats, and so of course you have all of these bags, and so I made these aprons. I participate in a community garden, and I said, "Oh, we all need aprons," and I made everyone, and these are really, and I put pockets in there. These really are very sturdy. I tell you, they're not going anywhere.
And they're waterproof, so they're great for the garden.
Exactly. It's honestly perfect. So I just couldn't resist.
Yeah, beautiful.
Good apron for dyeing too. For dyeing cloth.
That's a good idea.
Anyone else with any questions?
I wanted to share something, if I may.
Yes.
Just, I really appreciate everybody's work. It's beautiful, and that you took the time to photograph them all so nicely. I did do the sustainability challenge. I just didn't have good photos to send to Kate. But just in case it inspires somebody else, I wanted to tell you, I saw something on Instagram from Juju Just. She had made these pom-poms with all her leftover yarn, and they were so cool looking and so inspiring. I decided to take some of my leftover hand spun and other commercial yarns and just stuff I had hand dyed and randomly mix them together the way Juju Just had done. And I made some really cool pom-poms out of it with the clover, open and close kind of pom-pom makers. And I highly encourage others to try it with your thrums or your leftover hand spun when you don't have enough left over from a project to do something big. It's a really great upcycle, like go-to project, and you can add them to your Christmas presents or add them to your hat or other project that you made.
And that Instagram is Mafa.
Since Nancy mentioned that the other day, these are the rest of my thrums. And, they made a whole bunch of and now every time I do, like while we were sitting here, I had knit my mother a hat, and I had a little bit of leftovers. So thank you, Nancy, because these are really fun to do.
Oh, I love the rainbow one, Myra. That's gorgeous.
Really fun, really, really fun to do. Yeah, and these are the makers. These are so cool. So my loom waist from now on will be making pom-poms.
I left one with Daryl Lancaster for her, and she wanted one, and I think I'm going to leave a pom-pom everywhere I go now.
Oh. And Myra, you were going to show us your basket. We wanted to see the actual size.
Okay, so it's this big.
Where are you? Wait a minute. I've lost you. Hold on until I find you.
She's the one holding the great pink basket.
Oh, I'm
Kate.
on the wrong page. Why can't I find you, Myra?
If we set our screens to speaker and she talks, we can see her.
All right, here I am.
Keep talking,
Here I
Myra.
am. So this is how big it is, and I used a basket technique, and usually I use rope and like twine, which is a little bit sturdier. This was really soft and kind of mushy, but it worked. And then I had made black rope too, because I wasn't sure what I was going to make. So I made a trivet, and this is just a trivet. And this is also Sharpie. Sharpies are great.
I love it.
Wow.
Sharpies are wonderful for color. I'm not going to try to wash them, but this one I use all the time now for pots.
Your basket could be a hat, Myra. No, the other way.
The other way.
Hey!
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Hey, Kate, can I
have fun?
Can I hold up my basket, Kate, since I was
You
late?
sure may, Sarah.
Okay. So I was, I drove Kate a little crazy because I was like, yeah, I'm going to be part of it. Then I was like, no, I can't get it done. And I was like, yeah, I'll get it done. And then no. And then finally I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But this is, you can, I don't know how well you can see it. This is a pine needle little basket.
Oh.
And it's made with, this is hand spun from Gigi's denim.
Hold it back a little, Sarah. I think, up a little closer.
Yeah, it's really hard to see.
Because there's light behind you.
Yeah, but it's pine needles, and it's called a frog mouth pod, which is a seed pod from South Africa. And it's sewn with wax linen and sewn rather loosely, just because I like the fact that you can kind of see through it. So
I'm going to share my screen and show it. That's
Oh, okay, nice.
Wow.
That's very cool.
It's beautiful, Sarah.
Thank you.
Now explain what's at the bottom again.
Oh, at the bottom, it's called a frog-mouthed pod, and it's a seed pod that's been sliced. I think it's cut in half, or maybe more. I have a bunch of them, and they were laying around, and I hadn't used anything for years. I used to use them to decorate hand-woven baskets with. So I thought I had Harry drill some holes around the edges and used it as for the pine needle basket.
Wow.
And the thread is waxed Irish linen, and then different colored, 4 different colors of pine needles.
How did you get all the colors of the pine needles?
You know, I used to do a lot of pine needle baskets, and I've had those needles for years. I no longer even know where they came from.
Oh,
nice.
These creations and the backstories are amazing.
Yeah.
Sarah, those remind me of the sweetgrass baskets in the Carolinas.
Yes, you know, I wish I had some sweetgrass. I would like to weave something with it. I just looked online the other day to try and buy some.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Can I just say, because I mentioned this to Kate earlier today, and she said show it at Portable Fibers, but I took some great photos of a customer's work, like Charlotte's sweater quilt. This woman sews together sweater pieces into quilts. They were so beautiful. She had 2 really large ones, and she was buying fleece to back it, and she was gonna tie the strings in the center to do, I guess it's called a tied quilt, but she had stitched together sweaters, and she said everybody in her family had one, and now she's just got too many. She gives them away, and it was breathtaking. So I have a bunch of pictures of her work, and I'll share them with you on Tuesday. But it's something to think about before you donate all your old sweaters.
Well, if you have a minute, Nancy, can you pull them right up?
I could if you want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While
Fine.
we're waiting, I just want to say I did the sustainability talk for MAFA in May, and then I did it in August for Philadelphia Guild. And the Philadelphia Guild was the one guild that really responded to all of the sustainability and has had this challenge. And just my hat goes off to you guys. You are the best guild for this. It's fantastic.
Well, we think so,
You've
Gigi.
inspired us, Gigi.
Hey,
Yeah.
wait a minute, Gigi, you're part of this guild.
Yes.
Yeah. You got us started, Gigi. So this is this woman, I can't remember her name. This is her face here. And she had, I have to say, her sweaters were just so amazing. I mean, her quilts. So some of it looked like it was felted details, and that looks like Noro. Some of them were hand knit. And I said, do you go to thrift stores for sweaters? She said, yeah. And some of them were family sweaters and, from people in her family. Oh, that's not it. This woman made corsets, and it said custom work enthusiastically encouraged. Which I love. But these are the quilts again.
Well, now we all know what to do with our sweaters.
I have some I wish I had not ditched when they got moth holes, because I could have put them in the wash and felted them cut them into flowers,
Yeah.
She would get hundreds and hundreds of dollars for those quilts here in Brooklyn, like with the hipster stores and that. Oh my goodness, she'd make a fortune.
So
Another plug for our West sale, just this Saturday, if you guys are around, it's 37th and Filbert. Please come. It's going to be like 10 or maybe 12 of our guild members and lots of other good stuff. And Kate, thank you again for doing this. This has been so much fun.
Oh, it was fun for me.
Yeah, excellent. Everything is wonderful.
I was just going to
Good work.
say that, Nancy. After you cut out of portable fibers, everybody said she's probably back to work, working on the sustainability challenge.
Nancy, is it outside this weekend?
It's in a park, yeah. It's 37th and Filbert.
So,
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Let's do this every year, Kate.
We do our show and tell every 3 months. We just changed the topic.
No, I mean
Personally,
sustainable. Can we do sustainable again?
Sure, and I would love for everybody to make their own personal trash monster. I think it'd be great fun. I'm going to start working on mine.
Me too.
What a great night. You all have been terrific, and I am so inspired. And we have so much talent in this guild. Let's give ourselves a major hand. Good night, everyone.